You have questions?
What is slashing?
We have answers.
Slashing is like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. And there's a penalty for that?
Yeah, you do that, you go to the box, you know, 2 minutes by yourself, and you feel shame, you know, and then you get free.
This is CBJ in 30.
Anything you folks want to know about the fascinating world of pro hockey? Here we go.
Tweet your questions by using the hashtag CBJIN30.
We'd like to remind you folks, keep your questions within the boundaries of good taste.
Here's your host, Bob McElligott.
And welcome to another edition of CBJ in 30 for this, what is today? Thursday. Today's Thursday, all day, because tomorrow's Friday and the Blue Jackets have to take on the Calgary Flames tomorrow night. So I do know what day it is. It just takes me a minute. They all run together. They all blend together. But eventually it comes around. So bear with me. Welcome to today's show. You can send your questions, your comments, whatever's on your mind. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm open to anything today. You can send those via my Twitter account, which is at Bobby Mac Sports, and you can hashtag it CBJ in 30. That's CBJIN30. So the Blue Jackets just wrapping up a little, looked like more of a kind of a light practice here today. A lot of guys going out doing a lot of shooting, and I don't know if I want to say lightheartedness because there's, you know, anytime after you lose, you're not feeling great about yourselves, but, you know, they're out there working on things they had to work on today and getting that in. And just a couple of guys left on the ice cleaning up some pucks right now and getting set to go in and call it a day. The ice portion of it, of course, there will be workouts and all of that stuff. So that is what's going on with the Blue Jackets right now. And again, they're getting prepared for the game tomorrow night against the Calgary Flames. So to lead into that, why don't we just go right to last night's NHL scoreboard and see what happened last night around the league. Not many games last night. Just a couple, but, you know, one that had implications. There were only 3 total last night. Boston was able to win in Detroit. They did that in a shootout. The Bruins winning by the score of 3-2. I heard on a radio show the other day they were saying the Boston Bruins are in trouble. 3 games into the season. In trouble. 79 games to play. You're the Boston Bruins. You're in trouble? I don't think so. I don't think. NFL, 0-2, 1-3, 16-game schedule, you're in trouble. 82-game schedule? No, you're not in trouble. Especially not if you're the Boston Bruins and you have Tuukka Rask. And, you know, they're on the guys that hadn't gotten any points. Milan Lucic. In the last night's game, they were all over, you know, it's what they do. The people in my business, that's what most do. Is you know, they pick it apart. They try to, in many cases, try to make something out of nothing. Let me see. For the points last night, Riley Smith had a goal. Actually, his turned out to be the winner, I do believe. Who else had a goal? Krejci had a goal in that game, so they can get off his back a little bit because they were on his back too. So, anyway. The Boston Bruins get the win in Detroit. 3-2 was the score in that one last night. The game that the Blue Jackets were watching kind of intently, I guess you would say, Calgary. They were playing last night in Chicago. Chicago Blackhawks went into that game, you know, playing very well, hadn't lost, doing everything right. Calgary comes to town. It's just the Flames. Let's just get this done and knock them off and keep going. Didn't work that way last night. Calgary won the game. They did it in overtime. 2-1 was the final score in overtime. And the story of that game, goaltending. Jonas Hiller, 49 saves for the Calgary Flames. See, that's one thing, and I haven't talked much about Calgary. I talked a little bit about them. You know, last year they were trying to forge an identity and decide what they were, and they went through a lot of roster shifting last year. They had guys, they were shipping guys out, bringing young guys in, you know, trying to figure out who they were. Brian Burke is now there, and he's, you know, he had taken over, and he changes GMs. Jay Feaster was out. Brian Burke is calling the shots, and he's bringing in a new GM and all this stuff. So, you know, they were trying to figure out what they were. as an organization, as a team. You saw some indications near the end of the season that they were starting to figure that out. And this year, they want to be last year's Dallas Stars. They want to be last year's Blue Jackets. They want to be a team that is in the discussion, making a push, and getting into the playoffs. Now, that's going to be extremely hard for them to do because they're in the Western Conference. And you look at the 8 teams that made it last year and say to yourself, well, which of those 8 teams is going to fall out of the picture this year for somebody like a Calgary or a Phoenix or Arizona to get in? How are you going to do that? I mean, who's going to be subpar so that somebody gets in? So it's going to be a very difficult road for the Calgary Flames, but you still have to travel the road, and you have to figure out what the right road is. And I think one thing last year with Calgary is in goal, talking about goaltending, in goal, they had a bunch of different guys. They at one point last year, they had 3 goaltenders, all that could play in the NHL. And, they're rotating guys. So that's never a great situation. You like to have a number 1, number 2. It's all right to have that sense of competition. You don't need 3 guys. That's an extra guy on the wheel, right? Going around. So, now they've got Jonas Hiller. Came over from the Anaheim Ducks. 49 saves last night for him. Difference maker in the game. No question. No doubt. And now you've got a Calgary team feeling pretty good about itself coming in here to play against the Blue Jackets tomorrow night. And that should be an eye-opener for the Blue Jackets. We talked about the Dallas Stars the other night, and they're dangerous, but they haven't won. And you're thinking, well, they're on the road. Maybe they're not as geared up as they need to be. But they were geared up, and they took it to you in the first period, and they win the game. So there won't be any thinking that the Calgary Flames aren't ready for this game tomorrow night. Not after that performance last night in Chicago. No way. That's a tough building. To go into that United Center, 20,000 plus people in there, loud, rocking, facing one of the elite teams in the National Hockey League on their own ice, and you're able to gut out a 2-1 victory, it's a pretty big win. It's a big win early in the season for the Calgary Flames. Again, it's big for them as they are trying to establish an identity. That's what they're trying to do. Hard work, toughness, all that stuff. That's the kind of team that Brian Burke is going to be running. No doubt. Hard work, toughness, whatever we get, whatever that produces, which is usually very good things, that's what you'll take. Just like the Blue Jackets, just same thing they do. Aggressively forecheck, force turnovers, finish your check, punish the opposition, all those things. All of those things. So the Flames will be they'll be flying high in here tomorrow night for sure. And I think one of the keys to tomorrow's game is get the first goal. And you can say, well, Bob, that's key on any night, isn't it? Sure. You could make it a key on any night. But when you're just coming off a disappointing loss against a team that you may have taken lightly in the first period the other night, and now you're facing a team that's feeling really good about itself after knocking off an elite team, how can you kind of crash them back to earth early? Get the first goal in your building. Get your building loud early. Don't let them feel as though, this is going to be like Chicago. We can do it again. Don't let them get that feeling. Whatever you do. Remember, it was the Calgary Flames that were here last year on opening night. Now, this is just months after the Blue Jackets narrowly missed making the playoffs, and there was a lot of excitement for the opening of the next season. A lot of expectations for the Blue Jackets. And on opening night, the Calgary Flames came in here and beat the Blue Jackets. And the enthusiasm for the moment. Now, obviously, as the season wore on, the enthusiasm got even greater than it was the season before. But they did that to you in Game 1 last year. And I would imagine there's a lot of guys in that dressing room that will not forget that. They will not forget that feeling. They will not forget that it was the Calgary Flames that came in and tried to mess things up for them last year right off the bat. And it's very important to get the win before you head on the road for the Blue Jackets. We talked about that yesterday. 4-game road trip after this game tomorrow night. You've got to win. You got to get back, get your footing back underneath you before you take off and go on the road. The other game last night was in Arizona. The Edmonton Oilers were there, or were they? The Coyotes win 7-4 last night. The Edmonton Oilers, for as many trying times as there were around here for years, could you imagine what it must feel like to be an Edmonton Oilers fan right now? I mean, your team has finished dead last. They finished next to last and won the draft lottery so they could pick first. They have acquired the likes of Taylor Hall, Jordan Eberle, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Nail Yakupov. They were supposedly using the same rebuilding plan that the Chicago Blackhawks used, finishing last a lot, drafting well, and developing. The same plan the Pittsburgh Penguins used. Same thing. The blueprints are there. Two great examples. Okay, we stunk for a while and got some good players. Now we take those good players and climb to the top, be an elite team. That's what the Oilers were supposed to be doing, isn't it? All those guys I mentioned, forwards, all those guys I mentioned, similar type players. Not a lot of difference, quite frankly. Very similar, and no defenseman. And they had their opportunity to take a big-time defenseman. They had that chance, and they didn't take it. Thank goodness they didn't take it. And that was the year the Blue Jackets finished last, lost the draft lottery, and it was Nail Yakupov, Ryan Murray. And the Edmonton Oilers, why they never took Ryan Murray is beyond me. And again, I'm glad they didn't, because that would have just created a mess. It would have created a storm, because at the time, on paper, Yakupov was the guy you had to take. On paper. But the scouts that watched his games, there was just something, they didn't want to go that direction. They didn't want to go there. So if Yakupov's available at second overall, then you probably engineer that into a trade. Then you have people that are upset because you need offensive production. You passed on an offensive guy, all that kind of stuff. Never happened. It never happened, because the Edmonton Oilers felt that Nail Yakupov should be the first overall player taken. And Ryan Murray was sitting there ready for the Blue Jackets to pick. And they did. And even though he hasn't played a game yet this year, the second-year defenseman has got a ton of talent, and he's going to make a big difference when he returns to this blue line. He just went off the ice a couple of minutes ago. He was skating out there longer than everybody else. Todd Richards had said the other day he'd like to get him into a game this weekend. They would like to play him tomorrow night. If he's ready, they would like to play him here at home tomorrow night. I don't think there's much desire to go to California and have Ryan Murray play his first game of the year against San Jose, Anaheim, Los Angeles. Three big boys right there. Hard, physical games, all of them. You'd like to get him one game here before you go on that trip. So whether or not that happens, we'll find out. Like I said, Ryan Murray just went off a couple of minutes ago, and Todd Richards, well, if somebody asks him, he'll talk about it afterwards whenever he meets downstairs for his daily press briefing. But maybe Ryan Murray's back in the lineup. But again, the Edmonton Oilers should have taken him. They didn't take him. What are they still looking for? They're looking for a defenseman. They're looking for somebody that makes a difference on the blue line. That's what they're looking for. They had that guy. He was in their sights. They passed on him. Now, whoever gave that order, it doesn't matter to me who gave the order. You know, there's always stories in those situations. Well, the owner said, well, the GM said, well, the top scout said, well, the regional scout said, well, it doesn't matter who gave the order. Thank God they gave the order, and Ryan Murray is here and not there. But the Edmonton Oilers did, seriously, they're a mess. They were in L.A. They were in L.A. the night before and gave up 6 to the Kings. Now, I want to look at this before I point out the wrong guys. Never want to point out the wrong guys. So, well, both goalies played. That's right. Victor Fost got hurt in that game against L.A. And then he made 8 saves on 11 shots, and then Ben Scrivens had to come in. There's your goalie. Those are your goalies, by the way. Good, bad, or indifferent? I don't know. That's a great question. Then last night, in the game last night, wherever it is, here we go. Scrivens started that when he makes 23 saves, 29 shots. They've given up 13 in 2 games. 13. 1 to the defending Stanley Cup champion. 6 goals. Okay. No, not okay. 6 goals. Not 3, not 4, 6. And then 7 last night. And when I think about the others, here's the one thing that I can't help thinking about. I already told you they have similar players. The guys they drafted are all similar. But here's the other thing. With the exception of Steve Tambellini, who was there, he was there in a different role, then he became the general manager. But, and there's a big but here. Okay, let me think about this. If I'm not mistaken, Kevin Lowe was the general manager. Once upon a time, Scott Housen was the assistant general manager. Tambellini, I forget what his title was. So bear with me on that. Sorry about that. But he was there, and Craig McTavish was the head coach, right? So then Tambellini goes on to become the general manager, and after Kevin Lowe goes to being the president. And now Tambellini's a general manager. They don't like how that works out. So, and then McTavish leaves as being the head coach and then takes another role in the organization, player development or whatever he was doing. But anyway, he's back in. He's back in on the management side. And then, of course, Scott Housen leaves here and winds up back there again on the management side. So the hierarchy now, Kevin Lowe's the president. Craig McTavish is the general manager. Scott Housen is the assistant general manager. Here's my point to this whole discussion. What have you done? The names are the same. The titles might be different, but the names are the same. The names are the same. The players' playing styles are the same. And the result is the same. They're getting to a point. Those people are patient out there. They love their Oilers. They love them. I mean, that's what Edmonton has to hang its hat on. And they still go back to the Gretzky, Messier teams, and rightfully so. They deserve to brag about that forever. They had a dynasty there once upon a time. Now it's going the other direction. You can't see that team being in the playoffs again. Again. They're getting a brand new building, and maybe that's what it'll take. Maybe it'll take until right before the new building is ready and somebody's saying, all right, culture change. We've got to shake it up. I don't know, but I do know they've given up 13 goals in 2 days. Games on the slate tonight. Dallas continues its road trip. They go to Pittsburgh tonight to play the Penguins. I'm a big Stars fan tonight. The Islanders, red hot New York Islanders, hopefully will be eaten by the San Jose Sharks tonight. The Devils and Capitals go head-to-head, division matchup there. Another divisional matchup. The Hurricanes will be playing at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers. That might cure the Rangers' woes right there. Boston, back-to-back, playing at Montreal tonight. What a game that should be after the Canadiens knocked the Bruins out of the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. Ottawa's playing at home tonight. Blue Jackets will be in Ottawa on Saturday, so that'll be one to watch tonight. Ottawa taking on the Colorado Avalanche. And the St. Louis Blues are going to be in Hollywood. They'll take on the Los Angeles Kings tonight. So that's what's going on in the NHL. That's what happened last night. That's what's going on tonight. All that jazz. All right. Now, what do you have on your mind? That is the real is going to kick off the show today. And Gleno makes a good point. I talked about this a couple of minutes ago, Gleno. So technically you tweeted the point before I made it. So good on you. But it says the Flames are looking like the Blue Jackets of 2013. Beware the Flames Friday, boys. They ain't a cakewalk. Since Brian Burke took over. They ain't a cakewalk. I like that quote. Gleno, in case you couldn't tell. You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is not, if you come in to the game tomorrow expecting to show up and win because you're at home playing against what is perceived as a lesser caliber team, you're not going to win. Not going to win. You're going to lose. So you can't take anything for granted at all. Benjamin Phelps says Calgary looks tough. Predict how this game goes on Friday. Look, I believe in the Blue Jackets. I do. I believe that these guys, how do I say this? Well, I guess you just say it. Again, it's all, I know I've made this reference before, but sometimes it's like children. Sometimes it's like children to me. And what I mean by that is, if you have children, you will understand this. If you don't have children, wait until you do. Then you understand this. But here's the deal. You've already gone through things in your life. And you have a pretty good idea what the outcome is going to be of a situation depending upon the approach that you take to it, right? So you try children to make the right choice so that they don't get the wrong result. And you try to warn them, and you try to foreshadow what will happen if they don't do certain things. If you don't study, you will fail a test. If you don't practice, you will not get better at your sport. If you do not clean your room, you will not go outside. You try to help them. You try to give them everything that you feel you didn't have. Why didn't anybody give me that information? They did. You weren't paying attention. They did. Your mother and father told you. They told you the same things. If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. You didn't listen. You were a kid. Didn't matter. Until it happened, then it mattered. I think the same is true here. Youngest team in the league. You have a coach that's gone through this, and he's telling them the other night, don't take the Dallas Stars lightly, or they will likely come in here and have their way with you. Don't think this is easy. Don't think they won't be ready. You guys have to be ready. You've got to play your game right from the start. You can't have a lull. Be ready. If you have a lull, you're going to be in trouble. All of that talk went on. I guarantee you all of that talk went on. And what happened? They came out, and like that child that didn't believe what you said, they didn't get off to a good start. And they were down 2-0, and now they have to catch up. And then they go on eventually to lose. So it's a lesson. It's a lesson. So, all that being said, Benjamin, you asked me to predict how this game goes. Here's my prediction. Again, like children, usually if you illustrate to them, I told you, and you didn't believe me, and this happened, when they come to that situation again and you remind them, remember what happened last time I told you, they usually take a different approach. And that's what I think the Blue Jackets will do tomorrow night. And it helps that Calgary beat Chicago last night because it helps to reinforce the fact that anybody in this league can win on any given night. Doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you're perceived to be. Doesn't matter. A lot of parity, a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. And I think the Blue Jackets will respond in kind tomorrow. I think in the last 2 days, it has been repeated to them again and again and again and again and again how important the game is tomorrow to get your footing back before going on the road to Ottawa, San Jose, Anaheim, Los Angeles. Because if you don't get your footing back tomorrow, well, I'm not even going to say it. It's a daunting trip. So that's what I think, Benjamin. I think the Blue Jackets will come out, establish themselves, and do what they're supposed to do tomorrow. And if they do what they're supposed to do, it results in a win. CBJ or die. Do you have a go-to pregame meal? I do not. I do not. Doesn't matter what I eat. Matters where I am. When I'm at home, man, when I'm at home, there are times I don't eat anything until, right before the game. That's only because I'll be running around. I'm here. I go back home. I'm still working on stuff when I go back home, and I just I forget. Forget to eat sometimes. It's terrible, I know. But if you get a bite in the morning, then you know what? Then again, that's not true for me. If I eat something in the morning, I tend to get hungrier sooner. Why does that work? Like if I don't eat anything in the morning, I can go until 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm fine. But if I eat breakfast, I'm hungry again at 11:30. I don't get that. In any event, what does that tell you? If I can go that amount of time without eating something, I have something I can burn off. It's probably not a bad thing. Or maybe it is. I don't know. If you're a doctor, you can tell me. Maybe that's unhealthy, approaching it like that. I don't know. I never think about it until I get asked the question. So there, you asked the question, I thought about it. Let's see. David Sink. Is Ryan Murray's injury related to his surgery from late last season or a completely new injury? It's a leg, knee injury. I mean, last year he had the, coming into camp, the question was his shoulder after he had that shoulder surgery the previous year. So he's just getting back in shape. He's working out all the time. And again, he's close. He's if he's not ready to go tomorrow, he's there. Next one. Oh, Gleno has checked back in. He says the Islanders and the Blue Jackets in the semifinals this year. I would take it. I'd sign on right now. I don't know. Everybody's fired up about the Islanders. Okay? Everybody's fired up. I get it. I understand. John Tavares is back. He is an elite player. There's no doubt about that. I'm not sold taking them to the promised land. I'm not. It's nice for them to think that he is. Right now they're all just Johnny Boychuk. And he's doing great things since he was traded there from Boston, for sure. And he's getting put in situations that he wasn't getting put in Boston. Is he a top power play guy in New York? If he's not the top guy on the point, he's one of them. He's getting power play minutes that he wasn't getting in Boston because other guys ahead of him on the depth chart. So he's taking advantage of his opportunities early. He and Nick Leddy, they're playing together. They came from different teams, but they have meshed early on. That's great. That's great for them. I'm just not sold on the whole. They think they fixed their goaltending with Nabokov moving out and Halak coming in. I'm not as sold on that as most people are. And I'll tell you the reason why. Halak's a good goalie, but I've also seen him, and you've seen him, in games where all of a sudden he can't catch a cold with his glove, and it does him in. So, he's got to prove that he can go to another level for me. And if he does, they'll be a really good team because they have a lot of tools, for sure. Jody wants to know, what does your typical work day look like on non-game days? Well, it depends on the non-game day. It depends, if it was Sunday, there was nothing going on. My son played hockey on Sunday, so I went and watched a couple of games. And then Monday was a non-game day, but we were back here. Tuesday was a game day. Yesterday I was here doing this, and then we had a couple of season ticket holders that had won a lunch to go with Jeff Rimmer, Bill Davidge, Jody Shelley, and I. So we went out and had a lunch yesterday afternoon. Tonight I got a little high school football to do on television. Battle of Westerville South, Westerville Central. So I'll go home and prepare for that today and do preparations. Why can't I say the word? Prepare for that game. Prepare for Blue Jackets Flames. Tomorrow will be a regular morning skate. And I know you didn't ask about game days, so I'm just kind of glancing or going through the calendar. And then tomorrow, the game, and you get on the plane and you go to Ottawa. And then Sunday will be packing and preparing to go on the road for a week to California. So it varies. It's not the same. I'm just like you. Once the season starts, like I'm looking at my grass the other day and I'm thinking, I don't know how many times you'll have to cut the grass before it gets too cold, but I need to do it at least once. I need to do it now. And when am I going to do it? And maybe if it's nice on Sunday, because I don't see it. I don't see it happen. I don't see what the time is for it. So just like you, something needs fix. How many times Do you walk around your place and say, "Oh, I really got to fix that," or "I really got to do that," and then the day's gone from you? It's the same thing. There's really not that much different. Put it this way, Jody. I'm obviously not lying at home on the couch, eating a bag of chips and watching NHL Network on off days. Okay, maybe some off days. Maybe once in a while. Maybe. As far as you know. But anyway, so I hope that answers your question well enough. Thanks for being here today. It's going to wrap up today's CBJ in 30. Tomorrow, Blue Jackets, Calgary Flames from here at Nationwide Arena. So tomorrow, have your game day questions ready. Have them ready. Study up tonight. Be ready with good questions tomorrow as the Blue Jackets try to get their third win of the year against the Flames before heading on the road for the next four: Ottawa, San Jose, Anaheim, Los Angeles. Till tomorrow, Bob McElligott saying thanks once again, and of course, so long.
I'll talk to you later. Don't want to hear it again tonight. I'll talk to you later. Just save it for another guy. I'll talk to you later. Don't want to hear it again tonight. I'll just see